at the heart of manufacturing, there's something that's really gritty. And I think it draws people that have that same grit. Real people, authentic people, people that are living just an honest and beautiful experience.
That's one thing with manufacturing. You never reach the destination. It truly is a journey. And every day you can find out and learn new things and do things better and always look for ways to improve.
The major thing for us as growing together as a team is finding the work to fill in the backlogs so that way we can keep our guys going and then we can venture into different avenues.
We hear stories like these every day. The people who are part of this industry have never given up on it. And the people are the ones who are going to help move it forward. It's a tough industry, but it's also really rewarding. We've faced labor shortages, we've faced supply chain chaos, continuous change in technology. But one thing has always remained consistent, and that's the people. The people who refuse to give up on this industry. And through a belief that the next improvement will be the best and some very strategic problem solving, we're seeing this industry evolve. It's an evolution driven by the people, and that spirit will move it forward. Welcome to TradeCraft, the future of manufacturing.
Since the beginning of the industrial age, manufacturing has built more than machines. It has built possibility. Every tool and product refined over generations has shaped how we live, work, and move through the world. Through all of that change, one thing has never shifted. The people, the ones who show up, solve problems, and build something real. Today, a new era is taking shape. A team of manufacturing leaders has come together with the mission of helping shop owners modernize their floor, solve the challenges that are holding them back, and to inspire the next generation to pick up the torch. The tools have changed. The drive has not. The mission starts now.
Like so many companies, our success at TradeCraft is determined by the support and talents of the team that we build. With that, I'd like to introduce first Kate Cosentino, who is our war room manager. Kate keeps us on our toes. She also keeps us where we need to be, when we need to be there, and she gathers all of the data on the companies that we decide to work with.
Yes, and a little bit of data on keeping your ego in check when that needs to happen.
Yes, yes, you do have that. With that, I'd also like to introduce our general contractor, Phil Lewis. A general contractor is somebody who makes sure that each of the trades on a construction site are rowing in the same direction.
Yes, but we know him as the conductor. He guides practice specialists through their assignments with clarity and conviction. He is a manufacturing industry veteran who enjoys aligning technology, communication, and strategy to amplify impact for shop owners. I also hear that he enjoys long walks on the beach and 12-year-old scotch.
Wow, thank you, Kate, very much. I do enjoy long walks on the beach. I don't enjoy scotch. I would actually prefer a spicy old-fashioned.
I think we can agree to disagree on that one, but one thing that we can all agree on is that those stories from the shops that we heard at the top of the show are really some of the challenges that the industry is facing as a whole. Kate, though, you have this fourth shop, and I really would love for you to introduce us to Nix out of Poseyville, Indiana.
Yes, I think Nix is going to be a great fit for this. Let me walk you through them. Nix is a fifth-generation family-owned operation led by Matthew Nix. Their core specialties include fabrication, machining, coatings, and field services. They serve heavy industry manufacturing and government sectors. Nix is known for their craftsmanship, integrity, and community-driven values.
Kate, can you get them pulled up?
Already on it. Let's have them up here.
Matthew, thank you so much for reaching out to the TradeCraft team. I hear you're life cycle, your company has lasted for 5 generations. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jim. We are 5th generation. Adam, Lindsay, and I are 5th generation Nix family members involved. Adam and I's great-great-grandfather started as a blacksmith shop. He immigrated from Germany in the late 1800s, relocated to our town, Poseyville, Indiana, a very small agriculture-oriented town here in southern Indiana. We've been an uninterrupted business here in this town ever since.
What values or lessons from those previous generations still guide Nix today?
Grandpa Sonny always said he never worked a day in his life. He loved his job. So we try and make Nix a wonderful place to work. I think that's something we can all take from Sonny, is to really find fulfillment and joy in the work that we do.
In our repair shop now, that's our legacy portion of the business, where you might have a guy working on a job, say, for 2 days, and you're looking at the time, and you're putting the invoice together, and you're going, man, it just shouldn't have really taken that long. And you're kind of going back in your head and going, okay, well, what would Dad have done? What would Grandpa Sonny have done? And you're going, okay, well, we just need to treat this customer the right way. This should have taken 4 hours to do it. Let's charge this guy 4 hours. I think that we do things like that. We're always taking into consideration of how the previous generations would have done business.
Jeremy, has the family legacy made modernization of Nix harder or easier?
No, I think it makes it easier. If you're not challenging the status quo and really growing, you're dying. So I think Nix really embraces that, and it shows.
Matthew, last question before we get into your services and operation challenges. How do you maintain the drive as a business owner to show up every day? Like, what keeps you passionate and keeps you going?
This idea that our work can allow us to impact lives, primarily our team members, but the broader community in a meaningful way. And then the work that we do actually does matter. So I have bad days like everybody, and I'm not always the best version of myself, but my hope is that really deeply rooted passion and purpose kind of shines through even on the tougher days.
Jeremy, there are many defining moments in a business, but how do you future-proof to avoid making mistakes within your operations?
In my opinion, I don't think that it is possible to, completely future-proof any business. I think Nix can future prepare, but I don't think that, we can future-proof. We can prepare by, building a culture and a system that thrives in adaptability, kind of rather than prediction.
Wow, I really love Future Prepare, especially when it relates to manufacturing, which is where TradeCraft comes in.
Yeah, where can we help you future prepare?
We've just transitioned from a small to a medium-sized business, and there's different data points for that. I used to think that they were arbitrary numbers, but it's been interesting that as we've broken into that range, that all of a sudden our systems and processes have started to break.
I really think the TradeCraft team could help just by just another set of eyes, right? So if you're on the outside looking in, sometimes you can point out some things that, we may be blind to, that's just right under our nose, or, challenging old habits.
What are some of the root causes that you have found creating the issues at Nix?
We've been a little bit lean in areas, where people are wearing a lot of hats. That's just part of growing, and that just goes to doing more and being more efficient with the time that we have. Our quality coordinator is wanting to make sure that we're slowing down. The production team members are slowing down and taking their time and welding correctly and fabbing correctly, and then on the production side, we have this deadline. We got to get this out.
Lindsay, before we put boots on the ground out at Nix, I'm wondering, are you seeing any pushback or resistance from any team members about this digital transformation effort?
I really think we've built a culture which comes from leadership team down, that we always need to be forward thinking, looking what's out ahead next, and each different business group will get to start thinking about what are the investments I want to make in my shop next year, and talking to the folks on the shop floor, looking out what's ahead with our customers and bringing those ideas to the table.
Matthew, if you had a time machine and you could go forward into the future and tell me what success would look like working with TradeCraft, what do you see?
If we were able to identify one or two of those growing pains, and we felt like at the end of this process that we either had that problem solved or we had a very clear path for how we were working on solving that, I think we would call it a success.
Matthew, Adam, Lindsay, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time today. Your insights, your vulnerability, and your challenges and your story have been absolutely insightful for us, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
We wanted to hear a different perspective in manufacturing, so today we are talking to a woman-owned business out of Fort Worth, Texas that specializes in injection molding. We also have Nikki Gonzalez, known as The Signal. Base of operations, Wintech USA. Specialty, industrial influence and connection intelligence. Today we are talking to Vivian Allen from SigmaPro. Hey Vivian. So I know you and Nikki know what injection molding is, you've got it down, but for me and the audience who might not know, could you explain it a little bit?
So injection molding is super easy to understand. Anybody who's had a Play-Doh play set as a child kind of gets the concept of pushing something that's liquid or soft into a mold and creating something out of that. And that's what we do here. We just do it with pelletized plastic.
Okay, that makes sense. What applications and markets does injection molding serve?
Also, a couple of things that we make that you could maybe recognize out in the world are we make medical tags. These are things that are designed to notify a caregiver of what type of medication is running through an IV line. So those are made out of plastic, and that's really cool. Some other applications are assemblies that go on the ends of IVs. So if you've ever seen, like when you get an IV in your arm or in your hand, let's say, and it's going into your body, right there between the tube and your body is going to be a lot of plastic assemblies, and all of those are injection molded.
So one of the goals of TradeCraft is to kind of dispel the myth that manufacturing is only done in dark, dingy places. And I hear that your new facility is super not that in any way.
It looks like a science lab rather than a manufacturing floor, right?
Was that design on purpose? Was there an intention behind it?
Yes, we've always heard feedback from people that come into our plant that it is clean, it is bright, it's well organized, and it's really a fun place to be. But also, you know, it's part of our brand. We do make medical devices, and it's really critical for us, even outside of our specifically set aside clean room space, to have clean and orderly spaces everywhere. But yeah, everything about this was very intentional.
What made you go into injection molding or manufacturing as a career path, and a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur?
I love the idea of entrepreneurship. Bringing the energy that requires is such a unique experience. Now, being a woman in that entrepreneurial role is especially difficult. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's hard. It's hard to feel like you have to work harder than other people, other peers. It's hard to feel like you've gotta show up more. It's hard to feel like you've got to prove that you're worthy. But I think if it weren't so hard, I wouldn't value it to the same degree.
If you were speaking to a classroom of young ladies that was interested in manufacturing, what would you tell them?
Usually when you're talking to younger people, what you're really doing is you're talking to a younger version of yourself. And everybody's experience is so different. And I think that that's what I would tell them is don't try to recreate someone else's experience. You are who you are for a reason. You love what you love. You like the tastes you like the clothes you like, you have the interests you have, and you're gonna have the friendships you want to pursue. Don't try to trade who you are for who you think you're supposed to be.
Vivian, this has been so awesome. Thank you for taking the time. This was a great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
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 Well, I'm addicted to seeing people be successful. And you know, manufacturing can do that because We have some amazing people here that come from really tough situations, some broken homes, and just never had that change in life. And what drives me is that the people here are bought into it. So when we hire somebody, we show them a path. You know, it doesn't work for everybody, but at least we go home at night, we tried our best.
The future of manufacturing is in phenomenal hands, in part because of the innovative minds that are moving the needle forward on product development, digital system integration, and adopting artificial intelligence. We've gathered a few of our practice specialists to share their thoughts on what the future has in store for us. Can you get them up on screen?
I got you.
Awesome.
Our first TradeCraft agent profile is Paul Van Meter, his alias, the Nexus. His base of operations, ProShop ERP. His specialties include ERP, MES, and QMS systems. Our next agent is Tony Schmitz, whose alias is the Architect. His base of operations is MFG Industrial Supply Company, specialty machining, dynamics, metrology, and advanced manufacturing research. Next is Michael Corrales, alias the Calibrator. Base of operations, one factory. Michael aligns production, supply chain, and quality systems to a single source of truth. Next agent, Ryan Lillibridge, alias the Integrator. Base of operations, mission design and automation. Specialty, automation systems, robotics, and workflow intelligence.
So the talk is all about humanoid robotics and coming into the workspace. How do we change the perception of those humanoid robotics taking people's jobs?
Well, I don't know that you can totally, because I think the reality is that sometimes they do. But I think it depends on the type of business, right, and what the leadership has in mind. You can augment your workforce, you can become more competitive with the addition of this, but there are definitely, scenarios where it may cut jobs or shuffle things around in the job market, right? Like, isn't that what every new technology does?
When I visit shops around the country that have cobots and industrial robots, I do see those robots replacing the activity of the really repetitive, mundane tasks. And those people that used to do that are now elevated into a place where they are becoming more of a manufacturing process engineer, and they are helping facilitate the robot doing the mundane task. They're doing that higher level thinking, quite honestly having a more fun time at their job.
Ryan, some shops invest in robotic arms, for example, and it sits on the shop floor like a $100,000 plus paperweight. What does it look like when shops do automation the right way?
Yeah, Jim, I think there are those paperweights out there. I've seen them tucked away in a corner, misapplied applications. So people have bought a cobot, they bought another type of automation that's being unused or packed away in a corner without understanding the full process. And the key to value add is understanding your bottlenecks in your process, where and how to apply technology to those to either improve safety, quality, throughput, or eliminate those dull, dirty, dangerous jobs.
Okay, Michael, let's talk about digital workflows. Some facilities, when they get access to their data, they're able to create a lot of value with that, and some don't. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously part of our job as leaders in the organization is to help get the right information to the right people. But I think a big portion of that is also making sure that we spark curiosity, which unfortunately I think we don't do well enough. The way to know that a pulse of the factory is working for people and not the other way around is when folks are starting to get involved and ask questions from information that they're seeing and connecting these dots.
Tony, as a former university professor, I'd love to get your thoughts on the role of innovative thinking in the daily learnings of the future workforce.
So, an important issue today as we're training students is how do we train those students to be innovative? We need to have play. We need to have a culture where it's okay to try things and fail. And then finally, we need the ability to apply those things to make physical objects. That's manufacturing.
Ryan, what role do you see innovation playing in the future of manufacturing?
Yeah, I think innovation is critical to any business right now. It is the differentiator for an organization to have that as a key. And it's not easy to do, but it is
it finds its foundations in curiosity and exploration. So you have to be curious, and how we stay innovative is we allow people the safe space to be curious and ask the tough questions of like, what if we tried this? What if we did that? It's in a sense in an environment of that where we come up with the really great ideas.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us today. We really appreciate your insights and really the voices that you bring to the conversation. So until next time, see you later.
Thanks all.
Yeah, thanks.
I started out as the shop kid, so I was sweeping floors, climbing into machines, cleaning out the metal chips. I'm addicted to manufacturing. It is one of the coolest things that we can be part of, and it's the best kept secret in the United States.
So we've heard from the Nix team, and I think Matthew said it best, that growth is the biggest challenge for them, not necessarily on the side of new business, but on the capacity side.
Yeah, I really liked what Jeremy even emphasized around future planning. You know, the whole saying of future proofing is so common, right?
Yeah.
That's after the fact. Future planning is not reaction, it's preventive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Phil, as you think of our practice specialists, and Kate, I want your input on this too. Who's the best people to have in the field at Nix?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, you know, Carla is super ideal to be out there with Nix in Indiana, right? She brings a fresh perspective to manufacturing workflow, and as a second generation manufacturer, right, aligning with a fifth generation family manufacturer, I think that would be a very good, a lot more synergy that she can bring with them to the table. And then I really think Ryan should be going out there as well, you know. Ryan is it can be very instrumental to bringing modernization of manufacturing to Nix.
I like it. Any chance you can get them pulled up?
I already got them pulled up. They are ready to join the call.
Let's go.
Ryan Kulenbeck is hopping in right now, otherwise known as the cleaner to us. He specializes in factory systems and process intelligence and is the CEO of Pico MES. We also have, as we mentioned, Carla Trotman, who helps drive transformation through clarity, culture, and execution. She's a second-generation manufacturer who's been advancing a family legacy into the modern age. So I really do think she's the ideal choice to send to Indiana. Good job, Phil.
Excellent.
Awesome. Carla, on your side, business strategy, you're coming into this with a very fresh perspective. Is there something that is top of mind after watching that discovery call?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that jumped out was honoring legacy and driving modernization. There may be some competing priorities there, and that it's not very clear. So I would like to know a little bit more how they communicate their vision. And I want to resolve that quality speed false dichotomy. I know that sometimes we have the QA versus production tension, and it suggests that like there's siloed thinking and potentially misaligned incentives. So I would love to look at their KPIs and how they're communicated.
Ryan, what is the biggest thing that jumped out to you from that discovery call that you think that on the side of modernization, digitization, you can help them with?
I'm super curious to see what the shop floor is actually like. What's manual, what's automated, where have they deployed technology? Did the workforce, were they excited by the technology? Did they view it with skepticism? Some of these things. I would want to know how much they understand how value moves through that facility, and then how they know whether or not they won versus lost on it. That's the thing I want to see, because if that's really well understood, then you can deploy fixes around any one particular area that might be suffering.
Great, guys. Kate, I think we're ready to get them deployed to Indiana.
Let's get it going.
Let's get it going. Phil, do you have any questions for him?
Let's go.
Let's go. See you guys in Indiana.
Thank you.
Oh, looking forward to it.
All right, here we are, Poseyville, Indiana, pulling up to Nix Industrial. This is some beautiful country out here, really in the middle of nowhere. I gotta say, I'm really excited to see the TradeCraft team and meet with the Nix Industrial team, Matthew and the entire leadership team, as well as all their employees. Really excited to go on a tour, see what this place is all about, and if the issues that we heard in the discovery call are truly the issues that Nix faces on a day-to-day basis. So really excited to see what this all holds for us. All right, let's do it. Really think that Nix makes Poseyville. And I am excited, but all I know is I am cold. Let's roll.
So the biggest KPI that they pay attention to is what we call gross profit per skilled labor.
Okay.
That's how they know they're winning.
Go back to the value. Like your profitability is going to be driven by labor utilization, not floor space or capital utilization. Then follow the people.
This is a Mazak mill. This is programmed and can do repetitive parts, one-offs, and it allows us to machine without a mic or a feel or the manual side of it. It's a quality standard and an efficiency standard.
Whew, it's cold in here and it's loud, so I need to find a place that I can call Phil real quick, giving an update. This will work. All right, Phil Lewis.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Phil. How you doing, man?
Good. How's it going?
Awesome. This Nix place, Nix Industrial, is phenomenal. This place is really, really cool. It's everything that we thought it was going to be from the discovery calls that we had with them. But I'm thinking there might be some deeper seated or deeper rooted issues that we may need to flesh out to really hit the mark on what we try and do at TradeCraft.
What I'm really thinking on this then is, in order to accomplish the TradeCraft mission, I think we really, what it sounds like to me is that we really need to do some more digging, right? And so I have an idea.
Okay.
I'd like you to go talk to the sales and marketing team, and I think we send Carla to go talk to the top level leadership team. And I think let's put Ryan to go work with the operations team. And I think we'll really get to the root of their issues, right? We have to get in there to make the best recommendations for them for sure.
I love it. I love that idea. I love the divide and conquer, 3 prongs of the stool or 3 legs of a stool kind of approach there. Sounds great, Phil. I'll let Carla and Ryan know, and then I'll get back with you and let you know how everything goes.
Excellent, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Phil.
We have some customers, all that they see when they hear the name Nix is all they do is field coatings work. Yep. And that couldn't be anything further from the truth.
We're going to acquire businesses outside of our local market here, so whether that be Cincinnati, Nashville, St. Louis, Indy.
We've done 8 acquisitions in the past 10 years. Those have got increasingly larger over time, so they'll also probably become increasingly less frequent as they get larger.
An
You didn't have to spend time filling spreadsheets or doing paperwork. Think about the things you could be doing on the floor to
that is actually
get out ahead of the
my
next thing.
struggles.
Yeah.
Yes, I need to be out on the shop floor way more than I am.
Since we're all at a table for the first time, I want to go through and really see if we're still focusing on the right things. Jeremy, what is your biggest issue you face on a regular basis at Nix?
I would say a kind of a reactive mindset from a lot of our team members. Need to definitely be more proactive. Me personally, my position as general manager, I feel like I'm in the weeds a little bit too much and not looking forward as far as I should be. And I think a lot of the processes that we're hoping that you all can help us fix will get me out of those day-to-day operations and more looking forward. And then, like I said, just being more proactive on issues, on scheduling, on ordering materials, just a lot of that little stuff.
Maybe the last thing I'll just say is, like, at every level of the org chart, your ability to let go of those things is in direct proportion to the trust that you have in the leaders below you. And we've moved Jeremy into this role now, and I feel a lot better about those things. And now Jeremy's got to get that team in place for him, and so on and so forth. That's how you start to let go.
Absolutely. So Ryan, you've had a heck of a tour. How big are the issues, not discounting what they're seeing as their issues, but what issues are you seeing that could maybe address some of the pain points that they feel?
Yeah, I think you guys articulate issues well, and the way that I interpret them is a little bit of pushing decisions down to lower levels, but that requires trust and that requires visibility. So you have a new ERP coming. I think there's some real opportunities with how that works out. It's a modern system designed for what you do, and that will provide data to the leadership level so that you can focus on strategy and not worry about being in the weeds. Or when you go into the weeds, you will do it for a very good reason, right? Because it'll bubble up. And then the decisions also go farther down in that world. The other side for the operations that I think will be interesting is if you break up what you do to the fundamentals, you have at least two of the three fundamentals already covered, right? You have the profiler that allows you to take raw steel and do the initial holes, cutting, things of that nature that drives the fab shop without having to, set up mag drills and punch holes all day long. There's the laser alignment, which then takes those parts and gets them onto the fixture table in the right way. So that's about as fast as possible to be able to do that. The third leg is welding, frankly, in the shops we looked at. So you could go down the path of, what's out there for robotic welding. There's systems for high mix environments, there's systems for repetitive, or frankly, it's just making sure your people are enabled to be great welders. And it's about the training of them and giving them what they need to keep the trigger on.
Trigger uptime.
Yep. And trigger uptime is the metric that lets you know how well you did. The key to it then is enabling the person to do that work and keep the trigger on. But at the high level, that's kind of how I see. But I think, this isn't an environment that's repetitive enough to where you're going to start. You have other areas of the business where you could drive full automation or different types of tracking systems. But I like where you're heading. I think there's some really interesting stories that are going to come out of that ERP deployment. That's one of the areas that I think double clicking on is really good. I would imagine it plays into hopefully where you're going to go on that.
Carla, you're our TradeCraft business and strategy subject matter expert. A lot of what we've talked about falls into that world. What did you see out there, and what have you learned from the conversations you've had today?
Well, I think we had some really great conversations and a lot of similarities in our business, being job shops in a sense, being family businesses. So I've experienced or am experiencing a lot of the same things. I would say that when we talked about strategy and laying out a plan and how you plan in the 3-year increments and how often you visit that plan, I think that there may be some areas that we could revisit it a little bit more that helps with decision making on even a weekly, daily basis, so that the folks that are on your management team and even people down on the floor know that they're making decisions that lead to that big, hairy, audacious goal that we discussed.
The other thing I saw was when we looked at the board, you had really great metrics and KPIs. But I think that sometimes it gets a little confusing for people. And if you're growing at the rate that you are set to grow, that's going to be really hard to integrate. So it would be really interesting for us to delve into that and see how we can make it more meaningful for the right people at the right time, and maybe even a different system in order so that you're not constantly running around the building putting up papers. Maybe looking at a digital way to do that so that people can get that information in real time. And that's also going to help when you do your system integrations. Then if it's being updated in the real time, then you can see how you're doing in real time.
You're speaking my love language now.
I'm glad to hear that. The other part was culture. I love how, and culture fits into strategy, obviously, but I love how important that is to you, and how we talked about synergies in culture, when you synergies within company, but also how that leads to culture. I would like to really understand a little bit more about how you I love that you're part of that when you acquire a new target and you bring them in, and that you're part of that system of integrating them within the Nix family. I'd like to understand it a little bit more. Maybe I'll get some tips, I don't know, I hope to. But I think that growing to 2,500 people in a time period and what that looks like, it can get a little bit complicated because you're not going to be there at every step. You think you will, but you're not. And how can we carry that culture throughout so that it's a consistent flow? So I'm really impressed with what you guys have accomplished in such a short period of time. I think you should be super proud of 5 generations. It's really hard going from entrepreneurial to professional. And there's just, a couple of tweaks that can really help you get along your way and continue to grow strong.
Yeah, great stuff.
All right, Nix team, we have gotten so much information from you. I think we have exactly what we need to put a plan in place to deliver to you over the next couple of weeks. But I really want to thank you for your time today, your hospitality, your generosity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been great.
Bent River does a lot of stuff for the Department of Defense. I know it's important to stay in business, but when I heard that you're protecting the warfighter, the pride that gave me was like at a different level. And so I think really connecting what you're making to what the end result, and the war hero that was able to come home because of what you were able to manufacture is so powerful.
I feel like you can't win without change. Change is either good or it's a learning process. You can't win without learning. I think the leadership team is doing the right things that make this place a great place to work.
I embrace new technology because of being in the machining field. You got to stay on the latest edge and try to keep up with technology as it grows. A big part of Nix is whatever it takes attitude. It's a big part of our culture and some of our core values.
Pride's contagious, success is contagious. We want nothing but the best for each other here.
It's very important to be a forward-thinking entity. We've always said if you're not growing, you're dying. So for us, it's always kind of looking at that next thing that's going to continue to push us towards our next generation. Hopefully our kids want to get involved, and we need to do our part to make sure this business is around whenever they have the opportunity.
I'm not scared about the future of manufacturing. The technology, the evolution, that doesn't scare me because that's going to happen no matter what. You just got to get on board with it. You got to be forward thinking. What scares me about our future is the growth and the unknown, and so much of who we are is baked into this idea, this strategy, our mission of be big, act small. We say all the time, so it's not just words on the wall. We really live it. We believe it.
We have such an awesome team that I never doubt the direction that we're going. And our vision statement, we want to be a nationally recognized brand, and we want to make this business fruitful for the next generations. And if we're going to keep doing those things, we've got to keep our foot on the gas.
All right, Phil, we're back. Carla, Ryan, and I went to Indiana, got eyes on Nix from the ground floor, man, and got to see their facilities, got to meet some of their employees. Today, we get to have our follow-up call with them and see how they're feeling about it. If they're still excited, see what success looks like for them, see how their employees are feeling about the process as a whole. And so I feel like it's a really big day for us here at TradeCraft to see if this is a go, no go type opportunity for us. What are you feeling right now, man?
It's exciting. Welcome back.
Yeah,
and I'm really anticipating to see what Nix's response and also what their opinions are.
Yeah.
I think this is a very big opportunity for them and for the manufacturing industry and from us as TradeCraft.
Yeah.
So we're gonna find out soon, aren't we?
Let's get it done. Let's see what they have to say. Matthew, Jeremy, Adam, and Lindsay, thanks for joining us again. Nice to see you all. I feel like I've seen you quite a bit recently, but it's good to see you again. I'm here with Phil.
Hey everybody. I'm very sorry I couldn't make it out there. But I wanted to ask you firsthand, how did you feel the visit and the walkthrough went?
I really felt like the TradeCraft team brought a lot of opportunities to some of the challenges that we've been facing. And I really feel like there's going to be several tangible things that the team is going to bring to us for us to implement and continue to focus on for growth of our future organization.
Excellent. No, that's amazing.
So my question to you all is, has your definition of what success looks like through this process changed?
Sure. I don't think that the definition of success has changed. I think there might be some added components to that. A lot of it we thought was all going to be about process, procedure, and I don't think we were really thinking about the impacts that would have on culture, which ultimately is the reason we have come through all of this. We had processes that were broken. We had procedures that were broken. It hurt morale. So I don't know why the light bulb didn't go off immediately to think of this huge impact that it is going to have on culture. But, maybe something we can measure, have something around a culture metric to see, how that's moving the needle, not just through quality and on-time delivery and those kinds of things.
How many of these solutions are you planning on implementing? And is there a way that you're measuring a return on investment or profitability from those solutions?
I think the first thing that we're going to implement is the MRP system, and that's going to take a lot of resources and time, which obviously is a big investment, not just from a capital standpoint, but just time for everyone involved as well. It's going to change a lot of things for the good, and it's going to be better for the people, control the chaos a little bit better, get us hopefully back into winning consistently, and being able to see how our processes are going in real time. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'd like to see anyway.
I mean, normally when we invest in anything, we want to see an ROI. We try to measure that. But in this particular case, I'm not that concerned with how we're going to measure it. I mean, we just know it's something we need to do. It's a six-figure investment just for the first year for a piece of software, not to mention, like Jeremy said, a substantial amount of time. But we just feel like it's kind of like that in terms of a no-brainer of the impact it's going to make. And I think we could spend a lot of time and energy trying to figure out how to measure that impact, and it probably wouldn't matter. Just we know we need it. It's going to make the business better.
Nix team, it's always awesome to see you guys. I want to come back out to Poseyville, see you again. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you, Phil.
Excellent. Jim,
it's been great. Bye, guys. Guys, I can't picture two better people to have been on this journey with. To me, it's absolutely wild that we have gone through these steps in our process to get to where we are now with Nix.
Yeah.
Kate found us a company, talked to a boatload, literal boatload of companies.
Try my best.
We had a discovery call. We learned so much about Nix and this 5th generation company. We went on a factory tour. We saw their people. We saw we had boots on the ground. We saw the shop in action, their factory in action.
Their legacy.
Exactly. We built them an innovation roadmap, and soon we're looking at going back in there and helping them implement those solutions. My favorite part about this so far has been the vulnerability that Nix was willing to show.
Yes.
In just asking for help. Sometimes that knowledge of knowing that you don't know it all speaks volumes. I think that we don't see enough shops asking for help. They think that they know the answer. So it's so refreshing to see so many shops have been so receptive to you and your outreach and the conversations you're having. I've got a really good feeling about this, guys.
It's exciting.
What was your favorite part, Phil?
The culture that was brought on from Nix with Grandpa Sonny.
Yeah.
That drove the whole idea of innovative thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Innovative thinking is key in manufacturing. If you don't have it, you're stale.
Yeah.
You're not moving the needle. And innovative thinking that they brought to the table is changing their entire organization.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of shops that I've talked to and haven't can learn from this experience and take lessons away of how they can keep improving and entering into the newest era of whatever they want to do and pursue.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys, until next time, let's get a go team.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, go team!
Now I feel like a long walk on the beach. With my old fashioned.